Welcome to another edition of Marketing Matters. I'm Christie Welch, and today we're going to talk about managing your online presence. So stay tuned. Hello, I'm Christie Welch, and welcome to another edition of Marketing Matters. Today, we are going to talk about managing your online presence and how important that is for your small business. Patrick, I'm happy to be here again today.
I'm happy that you asked me to co-host because this is a really important topic in the fact that we are becoming really users of technology. And especially with the farmers markets where they are dependent upon technology.
That's very true, Patrick. And so one thing I always tell customers is that if they are not online, that they are basically invisible to their customers, what I tell small businesses, I mean. So it's more important than ever to make sure that you do have an online presence and manage what your customers and potential customers see. So I have a brief PowerPoint if we'd like to run through some of those slides. So again, we're going to talk today about managing your online presence. And Patrick, as we're going through, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to just jump in and ask those questions. What we will talk about today is how your customers find and view your business on mobile devices and online, how customers use social media to find out information about your business, and then how they use that social media to interact with your business as well. And one of the reasons it's so important to have a good online presence is we are so connected. And, it used to be we thought about being connected on a desktop computer. Now it's so much more than that. Of course, we have smartphones, we have tablets, we have laptops, we have smart TVs, and a lot of people are connecting on their smart TV as well. And of course, through the pandemic especially, we've all been kind of sequestered and not out and about a whole lot. So people are spending a lot more time interacting online. And then the other thing that we need to think about when we're not only talking about the small business, but the customer as well. What kind of speed do they have? We've heard a lot of challenges, especially schools of small businesses have had through the pandemic because of lack of good internet access. And so it's important to keep all those things in mind when you're developing your online presence. And if you just look at these statistics, it's pretty incredible. 29.3 billion networked devices are predicted by 2023. Compared to just 18.4 billion in 2018. And if we think about how many devices we have connected in our own homes, usually it's computers, it's TVs, it's tablets, it's phones, it's becoming refrigerators and appliances and all those kinds of things. So think about how many devices we are using. Really, again, goes to show how important it is that you have an effective online presence.
Christie, growing up in the technology world where we did not have computer systems, it became very hard for us older folks getting used to the computers. Are you finding in statistics that doesn't matter what age individuals are watching in the internet?
Yeah, it's true, Patrick. I think for the most part, the majority of the population, regardless of age, is adopting these technologies. And of course, folks that are born now or have been in the last couple of years, they've grown up with cell phones and tablets and smart devices, whereas older folks, it took us a little bit more time to learn and always information to learn. But I think you would be surprised how many folks are looking for information and connecting with others online. Great question. And if you see this next one again, by 2023, they're predicting 71% of the population, or 5.7 billion people around the globe, will connect in mobile devices. And so that's something to keep in mind. One of the things that we've also kind of seen over the last couple of years is the discussions that have been had about some of the social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram being probably two of the most popular that are used by customers and businesses. And so the thing I think it's important to remember about Facebook and Instagram is they really have developed into two separate audiences. So when you're thinking about where to position your business on social media, you really need to ask your question, should you be on Facebook? Should you be on Instagram? Should you be on both? And what do those different platforms look like? And so if you look here, spending on Facebook ads is $2.79 billion or excuse me, not spending, but number of users. 2.79, where Instagram had over 1 billion. But if we look then at the demographics, it's the 25 to 44 folks that spend more time on Facebook, where the 18 to 24-year-olds are spending more time on Instagram. So again, if you just think about your target customer, that can really help you figure out where you need to spend your resources as far as social media marketing goes.
It is interesting on that previous slide that Indonesia is more apt to use Facebook and Brazil is more apt to use Instagram.
Yeah, again, they've developed very distinct customers that use those different platforms. So again, that's where it goes back to who is your customer? How did they get their information? And that can, again, really help you be more effective with the marketing resources that you have when you're trying to connect with those customers. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, Patrick, as we continue through the slides. Again, to be successful, we have to have an effective presence. We also have to make sure that it functions for our customers and our business. And then, of course, we always think about the speed, because we work with a lot of businesses that are in rural parts of the state and not always have the best connectivity. So all those things need to be taken into consideration when you're thinking about your online presence. And really what you want to do is help your customers find and interact with you. And again, most of us go to our smart devices now to find information, especially when we're looking for products or services to purchase or entertainment to participate in. And so again, if you do not have an online presence, you're effectively invisible to your potential customers. And whether you know it or not, you're likely online, your small business. So you might be listed on Google, you might be on MapQuest or some of these other directories and databases that are out there. That doesn't mean you created that posting, but these businesses will create these postings, and then you would want to go and claim those and make sure that it is reflecting the branding and the information about your business that you want it to portray. And so when we think about consistent branding, we need to think about your colors, your fonts, your logos, images, and all that other information that goes into representing your business to potential customers. Now, this slide I like to share because if you initially look at this slide, you would think there's 4 different businesses represented here, wouldn't you?
Yes.
But
it does look like it.
Doesn't it, though? But if you take a closer look, you will see that this business is the same in all of these platforms. Again, why is this important? Because from a customer's perspective, if they see you on 4 different platforms, they're not usually going to recognize that that's the same business. So ways that you can overcome that challenge is to use the same images. Make sure that you use the same name. Look here, we've got Huber's apostrophe S. If we go up here, it's Huber without the apostrophe S. Here we have the apostrophe S. And on this slide, I don't actually even see it. Yep, there it is. It's the apostrophe S. So again, to try to make sure that every time you're listing your business, you're doing it very consistently. Use the same color scheme if you can. Now, I realize that these platforms, these are their color schemes, and you can't change that. But what you can do is be consistent in the images that you share. So they all represent your particular small business and provides that consistency for your customers. And so
So
there's a lot of,
basically, what you're saying is that certain platforms allow you to create your own web page,
yes,
and if you don't follow a specific format, it can be very easy that you have many different, similar to what you show, many different web pages.
exactly, Patrick. And again, what a lot of course, these platforms like Google or MapQuest or Yelp, or there's lots of them out there. How do they make money? Well, they make money by attracting users to their site so that whoever places an ad on their site generates that revenue. And so they'll go out and find these businesses and they'll go ahead and list them on their site. And so you might want to Google your own business name and see what pops up. And for example, on Google, they'll have a little profile of your business, usually with a map and a little bit of information. And there'll be a little button that says, "Is this your business? Claim it." And so you would need to go through the process of claiming that business. And then you can go in and put the images that you want reflected, make sure the information there is correct that you want to reflect to your customers. Now, I would just caution everyone, don't pay somebody a ton of money to do a lot of this stuff. If you have the time and ability to do it yourself, you mostly can do it for free. So just a little bit of a word of caution there. So
Now,
here's
getting on to MapQuest or Google, is there any charge or cost?
There is not. You can go in and set up your profile for free and manage that profile. You can make adjustments. For my own small business, our map was incorrect years ago, so we had to go in and adjust the map. You can, of course, do some paid advertising with these platforms, and that's really what they would like for you to do. But to initially get started, it does not cost you anything to do that. You can do it yourself. That's why I say again, don't have somebody say, "Here, give us a bunch of money and we'll do this for you." You usually can do that all by yourself without any cost to you at all. And so things that you want to think about when you do an internet search, think about your business, and the big three are name, address, and phone number. Plus, customers really like to want to know the hours of your operation and directions to your small business. So check and make sure that those are all correct and consistent as you move forward. And if you'd like assistance with some of this, how to claim your business, reach out to us. We can share more information because there is a lot of that involved. The next thing I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about, Patrick, is how customers, we've spent a few minutes here talking about what businesses can do, but we want to now transition a little bit and talk about how customers use mobile devices to find you and interact with your small business. So years ago, if you have a website that you had developed more than probably 5-6 years ago, you really need to think about, does that work for your customers? So here's an example of a website that's really not very mobile friendly. That text, especially for older folks like me, is hard to read. And so we don't like to pinch and scroll and all that kind of stuff. If you compare that to this picture, again, very user friendly. The name of the business, I can go to their Facebook page, their Instagram page, and I can email them just with a click of a button. And so you really need to think about how your customers view your information when they're searching for you. So there's lots of resources, and we will post a link to this presentation so you'll have those as well. But there's lots of resources out there to help you work through making sure you have a good online presence. Here's just one example that can help make sure that you're mobile friendly and help you have a good image available online. Most of these platforms, there is a cost to some of them, but you really need to talk to other producers, talk to other small businesses, find out what they're using and what's working for them. And then again, as I mentioned, make sure it's functionable for your target customer. And so if you see here, 69% of smartphone users are more likely to buy from companies whose mobile sites or apps help them find their answers easily. So example I use all the time because we all eat, and of course I like to eat. If I want to order from a particular restaurant, do they have a click to call button or is it click to order online? How easy do they make it for me to order my product, find out when it's going to be ready, and pay for it? And so those are things that you need to think about when we talk about function of the platforms that you're using. Again, maps and phone numbers, claiming your businesses. And not only would you want to do that on Google, but there's some other sites out there that you want to look about possibly claiming your business. Now, another word of caution. For example, if you go to some of these other platforms that list businesses and you claim your business, they're going to start contacting you and say, you need to spend money advertising on our platform. So again, just a word of caution. If your target customer is using that platform, that might be a great way to spend some of your dollars, your marketing dollars. But just again, I wanted you to be prepared that you will start receiving some of those contacts.
Christie,
Yes.
do many of these platforms have the ability to give reviews? Is that part of the free service?
It is for sure. Certainly. And that's a great question, Patrick. Google gives lots of reviews, just like Facebook, Instagram, these other platforms as well. And customers really pay attention to reviews by other customers. And so they trust those customers. And so it is important that you look at reviews. And that's really a whole nother topic that we can discuss is what do you do if you get a bad review? How do you encourage positive reviews? And that's something we could talk about in another session. But that's a really great point as far as managing that online presence because people do look at those reviews. But again, we want to think about that function and the ability for your customers to interact with you really fairly easily. Again, we've got a call button here where I can click to call. We've got directions here where we can click to get directions. How many times is it we're in our car driving already and we're trying to find a place? You don't want them to have to pull over or be on their phone while they're driving to find you. Click for directions is a great one as well. And then also click to have them visit your website. We've got address and phone number here as well. And this particular shot doesn't share the hours, but those are typically available as well. Again, when we talk about speed, sometimes you can fix that, sometimes you cannot. You really need to think about what's available in your area. But 70% of users that switch to another site do so because it took the first site too long to load. Of course, we are a culture of instant gratification. So when we think take too long to load, is that 3 seconds? Is that 30 seconds? It depends on your target customer. I had worked with a client one time that had an older website and we were looking to upgrade that for them. And I went on my mobile device to visit their website. It took 7 minutes for their website to load on my mobile device. And so what does that tell you? Again, especially if you have a website that was created a number of years ago, it's probably not very effective for today's customer in our world. So think about reviewing that and making sure it's up to speed and is functioning the way your customers would want it to.
Yeah, in our particular Southern Ohio area, when they compare the speed of our internet service to like a larger city, sometimes people don't understand that our speeds are not as fast in some of the rural areas. And consequently, we become a little bit more frustrated if we're trying to load up something and the speed is just not there.
Yes, that's very true, Patrick. And of course, we saw those issues amplified, I think, during this shutdowns from the pandemics, again, especially with schools and small businesses. So hopefully moving forward, there will be some solutions to some of those challenges. But you really need to think about, I work with a lot of farmers. We're out in the middle of a field. Are you connected? And how can you overcome some of those challenges? So all good things to think about. Again, when we talk about what our customers want, fast is 5 seconds or less. And this survey is several years old, so I would assume it might even be 3 seconds or less now. Again, are those features mobile friendly? Do you have the click to call buttons, click to get directions, and those kinds of things? Do you have that important name, address, phone number, and hours on your sites? And you want them to get what they want. So you want to design your site so that customers can get the information that they want quickly. If they have to, I know myself, when I'm trying to buy a product, if I have to click through 5 or 6 different pages on a website to make a purchase, it drives me crazy. Amazon has become great at, one click and it's ordered and paid for and on its way. So make it easy as possible for your customers to do business with you. So just a checklist that you might want to go through. Do you have a website? I would say if you don't, again, you're invisible to your potential customers. The other reason it's important to have a website, it used to be when social media started, I felt like small businesses, as long as they did a good job of managing those social media platforms that they use, they would do okay. Today, it's all about connectivity. So you need to have a website that you connect to your social media platforms, that all those things go to move you up in those search engines. And so I would say in this day and age, you really must have a website if you're a small business. Again, make sure it's viewed, how it looks on mobile devices and other smart devices, and then make a plan to improve. It's not something that probably will happen overnight, but it's those little steps you can take on a consistent basis. And, as we know, social media and all this stuff changes so quickly that it's not a one and done. You constantly have to be updating your information and making sure you understand how those platforms work.
I think that's so true. With the use of social media, it's sort of marketing your business, not trying to give you a wealth of information, but it's marketing that website so that when you do call attention to your business, an individual can then at their leisure go to your website. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, Patrick. That is exactly why you would want a website. You will have customers that want to know all the details about your small business. And where can they find that? Your website is a great place to place that information. The social media platforms that you choose to use really need to be more day-to-day relevant information. What's going on with my business today? What do I have to offer my customers today? And really trying to create that relationship to keep that customer engaged with your particular business. So there's a lot more information here. We're going to talk a little bit about how customers use social. We probably won't get through all this. Again, as I mentioned, we need to keep up with the changes that are constantly happening with social media. We all hear the comments about Facebook's changing their algorithm, Instagram's changing their algorithm. This is happening with Google. So it's really important to try to keep up as best you can with those changes. This all, again, when we talk about who is your existing customer, will help you determine what platforms that you should be using for your business. And again, another word of caution. Don't try to be all things to everyone, because everyone is not your customer. Think about where your target customer spends their time. Facebook and Instagram are two still of the biggest, but there's lots of others coming online, WhatsApp, TikTok. I mean, the list goes on and on. So really think about where your customers spend their time on social media and spend your resources doing a good job with one or two platforms. Don't do 10 platforms poorly, because that's not going to help you at all. So really think about that. Do you want to do paid ads versus just regular posts? Again, that depends on some to your platforms and which platforms you're on and what kind of information you're trying to get out to your customers. And then Patrick brought up the issue about reviews, and that's just a really good thing to think about, because people do depend on the reviews so much anymore. And so one of the things that we recommend if you get a poor review from your customer is to don't get in a fighting match online. Have a comment to your customer, say, I'm so sorry that you had a bad experience. Please contact me and either private message or phone number or email, and let's see what we can do to help resolve this issue. And that's much better than trying to get in just a back and forth online for the whole world to see. The other thing I would say, typically, if you have a bad review from a customer, your loyal customers will come to bat for you. So they will say, I've always had a great experience there. I don't know what happened in that particular situation. But really try to take that comment, a bad or unfavorable comment. Don't discuss that in public online. Really try to reach out to that customer and take that offline to resolve that situation.
Christie, we only have a couple minutes left, but what I'm going to ask you, what is the difference between marketing and advertisement?
Very good question, Patrick. So from my perspective, marketing is everything you do to promote your business. It is your logo, it's your fonts, it's your colors, it's how you dress, it's how you interact with customers. Whereas advertising, really, usually paid, but not always, you pay to put specific information in front of your potential customers. And so there is definitely a distinction. I think, Patrick, it's important for us to understand that advertising is a part of marketing, but advertising is not everything involved in marketing. There's so much more in marketing your business.
I tend very much to agree. Marketing is where you're going to your customers and saying, hey, you want to buy from us? Here's some information. That's the advertisement. So yeah, I very much agree with what you're saying. Christie, we have about 1 minute. Any overall thoughts, suggestions, recommendations you can give to the listening audience?
Sure, Patrick. Again, I will just say it again. If you're not online, you are invisible to your customers, your potential customers. Now, again, I know that I'm not the most tech savvy person as well. There are a lot of resources out there that are available to help you create that online presence. And so I would reach out to small business development centers, your local chamber of commerce, other types of business colleagues that you have. And don't forget to ask your customer and your potential customer, where do they spend their time? If you have somebody walks into your business for the first time, try to make it a habit to say, how'd you hear about us? So that you know how the word's getting out about your business.
I hope that you're able to have a part 2 when it comes to online presence, because I think there's much, much more we as business owners need to understand.
I'll be happy to come back, Patrick, and share more. And I appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.
Christie, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.